All right, the Nifty is currently and pre-open is just taking place, is trading around 88.20, 88.19, which is more or less yesterday's high. 88.24 was yesterday's high, and that's where it's trading, Nifty, at the moment. Or at least the bids are, one can't really say trading, but that's where the bids are coming in on pre-open. We'll look at it closer at about 9:05, 9:07, because that's when it closes and gives us a sense. Sameet Chavan is also here with us. Sameet, what are your picks?
Good morning. If we talk about the benchmark index first, as far as Nifty is concerned, we are not so bullish on the index purely with a near-term perspective. We have been maintaining our cautious bias since last couple of weeks. Technically speaking, we are observing a shooting star as well as island reversal pattern on the weekly charts, which happened during the penultimate week. And last week, this pattern got confirmed. So any bounce would be a very good selling opportunity in indices. For Nifty, 88.50, 88.60 would be a major hurdle. So we expect Nifty to undergo a decent price-wise as well as time-wise correction before surpassing the 9,000 mark. On the downside, 8600, 8550, these are the level which we are expecting. So at this juncture, we would go with the expectation. We have three recommendations. All three are on the short side. First one would be on Maruti. We have seen a decent run in this stock in last couple of months. However, if we look at the daily as well as weekly chart structure, this stock has been struggling around 5600 since last couple of days. Going by this strong resistance zone, we expect an immediate correction in Maruti. 50 to 50 would be our immediate target. It can be shorted with a stop loss of 56.20. Our other short call would be on Voltas. Yesterday we saw a decent up move in this stock, but if you look at the daily and weekly chart structure, on the daily chart this stock has already confirmed its parabolic SAR sell mode, and if we look at yesterday's bounce, 394, 395 seems to be a very strong resistance. So we would use this bounce as a selling opportunity. Thus we have an immediate target of 372 in Voltas, 403.5 would be a stop loss, and our third call would be a short call on JSW Steel. Clearly this has been an outperforming stock since last 6 months, but last week for the first time in recent months this stock gave a close below its 5 moving average. Yesterday we saw a decent bounce, but we would interpret it as a selling opportunity. So we would go short for a target of 1650. Stop loss would be placed around 1820.
All right, 3 sell calls, very interesting. Let me get in Sharmila again. Sharmila, just take us through your calls. We got what you were saying about the Nifty, but what are you doing right now?
Yeah, so I think it's a good opportunity to buy stocks that you like. So the first stock that I would like to talk about is L&T Finance. We've seen over the last couple of quarters an improved set of numbers from here, as well as the fact that they're getting out of businesses where their focus was low, and there's a lot of internal rationalization also that has happened over the last couple of quarters, and that's likely to continue. So given the fact that overall within the financial services, this kind of business is doing better than a lot of stocks in the banking industry, I have a buy on this capital. The other stock that I'd like
Alright, we've got a bit of a bad luck there with the connection, but I can take you through what Sharmila has said. She had this stock earlier as well, Omkar Specialty Chemicals, and there's a specialty chemical player. They're also partly divesting a part of their business. Omkar Chemicals, her target there is 200 rupees, 168 rupees. That's where it's trading right now. I'm going to come back to our guests a little later, but let me just go through some of the stocks that are in news. And Pankaj, the big one today, of course, is Jubilant Foodworks, right?
Absolutely, Anand, and it clearly came in as a surprise. Just after the result, we spoke to the CEO, Ajay Kaul, and he was quite passionate about the business going ahead, the changes that they are doing. And suddenly, yesterday, there was a press release from the management which says that Mr. Ajay Kaul has resigned, and he will continue as the CEO till 31st March 2017. Just about 4-5 months back, the CFO, who had about 14 years of tenure at Jubilant Foodworks, had also resigned. So these were the two people, or the two faces of the company, that were representing the company in terms of investor meets, in terms of investor briefing, and that's why markets may not take it on the positive side. The pre-open price of Jubilant is at the bottom of your screen. It's down about 5.5%. Credit Suisse says that markets may not perceive these sort of exits in a positive way. In fact, they are on the negative side. However, the new announcement would be interesting, and the release says that they are right now under the process of appointing the new CEO. Morgan Stanley, who have been big bulls on Jubilant Foodworks, say that they expect the stock to react negatively as far as CEO's resignation is concerned. Mr. Kaul was widely perceived as the architect of supply chain. He was one of the persons who started the 30-minute delivery, which led to a lot of boost for the company. So he was perceived very well, and that's why this exit would not be taken on the positive side.
But the interesting thing is that Jubilant Foodworks has not been doing very well. I know we used to speak to Ajay Kaul very often, and he would expect a recovery sooner or later, but that recovery wasn't really coming. And I think that the press release says that he's going to be exploring other options outside Jubilant Foodworks. Ajay Kaul of Jubilant Foodworks also has Domino's, which itself has been a bit of a drag. I mean, Domino's and Dunkin' Donuts. So both of them have been a bit of a drag. Ajay Kaul tried to introduce new things, and there have been some by Dev Amritesh itself, like the burger pizza. I don't know how well it has been working, and it's under huge pressure right now from the entire, the Zomatos and the guys who come and deliver from restaurants. So you actually now get gourmet pizzas from well-known branches which are not QSR in proper sense. They're not quick service in that sense, but they more or less compete with Domino's in terms of the speed of delivery, the quality of the pizza. So it is probably the right time to get out of this business if you are a professional. And it was interesting that if you remember that when Domino's came out with its, Jubilant Foodworks came out with its Q1 numbers, the press release and the initial commentary actually did not come from Ajay Kaul at all. So what you heard read in the newspapers the next day actually came from the owners, the management proper, the owners themselves, and not from the management Ajay Kaul. So that's the interesting thing that perhaps kind of gave an indication right then, Pankaj.
Right, and even when there was the con call of Jubilant Foodworks, the next day after results came out, we had cut to that call. And again, there, the initial opening comments came in from Mr. Bhartia, which was not the case earlier. Mr. Kaul used to address the press. However, he took questions. He was there on the call. But the initial comments of Jubilant Foodworks in terms of results, even on the call, had come in from the promoters.
Yeah, so in a sense, the promoters had, it probably should have given an indication that there was something in the offing, because when I read the press release, I wondered what had happened and why have Mr. Bhartia, why have the promoters come and said it. But there are changes. Perhaps Domino's will have to reinvent itself. There's no doubt that Ajay Kaul, that impact is going to be there for some time. Ajay Kaul's resignation, and you're seeing almost 6% down, 5.5% down. We'll return to that in more detail when Sajib Haseen joins us. But Pankaj, take us through some other stocks in news today.
Well, on Aurobindo Pharma is in news. So there was a US FDA inspection which was due for their Unit 4 plant. That has happened. It was an 11-day long inspection, and post this inspection you have seen 2 or 3 minor observations on their plant. However, the management has said that these observations are unlikely to impact product approval, which means that they are not of data integrity. Maybe some techniques, some sort of bookkeeping is where you would have seen these 2 observations. We don't have the details of observation, but management has said they are not serious in nature. Company has filed from this plant 68 ANDAs approvals. Two or three of them have also received tentative approvals. This was a key plant. It was an injectable plant. In the injectable business in US, competition is not high. In fact, it's a very high margin business, and that's why this inspection was important. With this particular inspection that comes in, no major plant of Aurobindo Pharma is now expected to see any major US FDA inspection for the next 12 months, and that's why this comes in as a decently positive sort of a news. 5 rupees higher as far as Aurobindo Pharma is concerned, 810 rupees. Merrill Lynch has written a note on this whereby they maintain their buy Their target price is 1,065. Injectable now after this inspection will be a major growth driver. Expect launches from second half of this year to drive the growth. They are talking about the injectable launches that would happen. They expect Aurobindo to EPS to grow by 23% CAGR over the next couple of years. This is no change after this inspection has happened.
Let's take you through some other stocks in news quickly, one after the other. And the first one is ex-dividend. PVR goes by 2 rupees per share. That's what's going to happen. Castrol, they're doing a stake sale, 8.5% block owned by BP. That's likely to be sold, and the price band is 408 to 422 rupees. Now, compared to yesterday's closing price, the 408 is about 3.5% in discount. Mindtree, we told you what has happened in Jubilant FoodWorks. At Mindtree, 2 senior executives have quit. This has been reported by ET Tech, and ET Tech has also got a confirmation from Mindtree. Reliance Infra board has meet outcome, alternate fundraising through REITs, through other methods that has been approved, along with the new defense business activities of Reliance Infrastructure. Dr. Reddy's, there's a new injectable launch, paricalcitol. It's a kidney treatment drug. They have been allowed to now sell it in the US. TVS Motors has now launched a new variant of Star City Plus and sports bikes. JSW Energy and JP Associates, they're doing a deal for a 500 megawatt Bina plant that has now been approved by the Competition Commission of India. Hotel Leela, they've got shareholder approval to sell or transfer the Delhi and Chennai undertakings. Mangalam Cement, their new Allahabad grinding unit, cement grinding unit, that's begun its operations. Shoppers Stop has launched a new store in Bangalore. Kirloskar Industries, their mini blast furnace in Karnataka has been shut down for 85 days, which is for an upgrade. Lloyd Electric, they've got a $18 million order from GE Transportation. ICICI Bank has raised bulk deposit rates. This is interesting. They've raised bulk deposit rates by up to 35 basis points. NBCC, they're going to be managing the disposal or sale of land assets of 6 central PSUs, not the state PSUs, but central PSUs. ICRA has approved the sale of its entire stake in ICRA Techno Analytics. Watch out for that story. UB Holdings and also McDowell's, actually, both of them, the BSE has set a 10% circuit limit. Yesterday, UB Holdings went up sharply when markets open. And L&D Constructions, they have just bagged an order of 1726 crores, 1726 crores for L&T Construction. Markets are about to open. Pankaj, take over.
As far as markets are concerned, expect an absolutely flat sort of opening. SGX indicating a 20-point decline, but markets have opened 6 points higher. Axis Bank 1 rupee higher, BHEL 147, 148, SBI a quarter of a percent higher, half a rupee higher. Tata Steel up about 2 rupees at about 363. Lupin is down 8 rupees, no particular news flow. We mentioned Aurobindo Pharma, it's up 6 rupees right now. Yes Bank is in the green. Hindalco is down 0.6. Infosys 0.5% lower. Tata Motors about 10 paisa lower, so no major change. Z Entertainment, they attended the CLSA conference which is going on, 1 rupee lower, and Reliance Industries absolutely flat. ITC down 0.5%. HCL Tech up about 6 to 7 rupees, and Cipla up a quarter of a percent. GAIL is up 0.1%. IndusInd Bank was the top gainer yesterday. It's down actually 0.6% right now, and TCS is down about 0.4 to about 0.3%. M&M 0.5% higher, 1,423. Maruti up 0.3, 5,508 for Maruti Limited. Kotak Mahindra Bank down 0.6, and HDFC Limited down about 0.5%. HDFC Bank is also in the red, but very, very marginal gains as far as marginal losses as far as HDFC Bank is concerned. Dr. Reddy's has done a new launch, 0.5% higher, not a very big drug, and it's very competitive as well, but definitely a new drug is what they have got an approval for. Axis Bank 0.5% higher, 596 for Axis Bank, 596, 597 for that name. SBI absolutely flat at this point of time. Let's look at Jubilant FoodWorks, what's happening over there. So we did see 5% decline coming in. It's right now down 6.5 to about 7 odd % as far as Jubilant FoodWorks is concerned. 6% decline, 941 for Jubilant FoodWorks. Castrol also, I think the deal has gone through. It's now up about 5 odd % right now. It's up 5% right now, Castrol. Okay, the volumes have picked up. There is a 12 lakh deal which has already happened, or a 12 lakh volume has already happened on Castrol. So it's up about 4.5 to 5%. Jubilant FoodWorks 6%. I think it's at the day's lowest point, 68, 69 rupees for Jubilant FoodWorks. So volumes, of course, will be high on such a day. And Castrol is right now up about 5%, 442. The deal, 13 lakh shares have gone through, but probably there are some more shares that need to go through. So we'll just wait for the block window to close down. Aurobindo Pharma is also looking on the positive side. It's up 0.8%, 812, 813 for Aurobindo Pharma. About 1 lakh shares traded. It was among the top gainers yesterday as well. Mindtree, some reports are suggesting that there may be big exits coming in. It's not much, just 3 rupees on the downside.
Okay, let's pull up as usual the top 50 counters in terms of turnover. Once the markets open, we take 2-3 minutes, let the turnover, the trades come in. Top 50 counters. The first one is UB Holdings. Now, the BSE set a 10% limit. It's not gone up that much, but 7%. In 2 trading sessions, it went up about 40%. And today, you include this, that's about 47, 48% up on UB Holdings. This is largely because Heineken bought about 150 crores worth of shares on Friday, and that has actually made a big difference because probably the markets believe that this is positive. UB Holdings, of course, is the holding company for United Breweries. Castrol, we mentioned the block deal. Pankaj has been mentioning that 5% up. J Kumar Infra Projects. There's a buy call on J Kumar Infra Projects from Edelweiss, and that one's up about 4.7%. NIIT 2.5% up. Dishman Pharma 1.5% up. Escorts up about 1.4%. Sept Limited 1% up. Reliance Infrastructure has got that board approval, and also one part that they're seeking approval that they've submitted to the board is to be able to sell some of its assets. That's up 1.2%. Aurobindo Pharma, we mentioned that it's got the US FDA inspection, and this will be the last of the inspections, and no major change on Unit 4, up about 0.8%. Ashok Leyland about 0.6% up, so not much movement there that we're seeing at this moment. Tirumalai Chemicals has shot up 5% up at the moment. We do not have exactly the reason for that. We'll try and bring that up from if they've announced anything. The biggest loser at the moment on very high volumes and turnover, and the turnover here is about 47 crore rupees in just 4 minutes, is Jubilant FoodWorks. Let's pull that one up. 6.2% down. Hero Motorcorp 2%, but Jubilant FoodWorks, the biggest loser, 6.2% on a day when otherwise the markets are more or less flattish. You're not seeing much of a change. In terms of red and green, it's more or less even Stevens, but there, Jubilant FoodWorks is a standout name in terms of high turnover and high losses in that space. Let me just bring in our guests again, and let me try Sameet. Sameet, do you track Jubilant FoodWorks? Is it a well-traded counter? Does it have much volumes usually?
Yes, usually it's a trader favorite counter, but unfortunately most of the time traders get caught on the wrong side. If we look at the overall price chart structure in last 12 to 15 months, this stock has seen a massive correction after hitting its new high in August 2015. Now it is trading around its multi-year support level of 930, 920. So these are the important levels to watch out for on a closing basis. So if we get any closing below 930 on a weekly basis, then probably this stock is likely to slide further. In this case, 850, 820 levels are quite possible. So next 2 to 3 trading sessions would be quite crucial for this stock. Price wise, if it manages to hold 940, then we might see an immediate bounce. That immediate bounce could be much sharper, at least 10 to 12% bounce we can expect in this case.
Because some of it, of course, is the markets are reacting till the announcement comes. So I guess once the announcement comes, who's going to take over? And Pankaj, you were mentioning that some of the brokerages are speculating that it could be Dev Amritesh, who's the president of Domino's India. So while Ajay Kaul is the CEO and whole-time director of Jubilant Foodworks, which has various entities under it, I think specifically Domino's India is headed by Dev Amritesh. So once that announcement comes, I wonder how the markets would react and whether you'll see return. And look at the volume levels on Jubilant Foodworks. 60,000 is the standard number of shares traded, and now we have 663,000 or 6.6 lakh shares, 11 times the 10-day average on Jubilant Foodworks. But Pankaj, in terms of the company itself, it hadn't been doing too well in the recent past, right?
Absolutely, Anand. For the last, I think, 24 months, they have not been, in the last 24 months, that's in the last 8 quarters, there would only be 1 or 2 quarters where they would have delivered numbers much better than street estimates. In fact, their margins have been reducing, their volumes have been going down. And, the point that you made about new apps coming in, new delivery apps coming in, this has changed the way, most of these QSR or quick service restaurants, as they are called, would actually operate. And that's probably the transition that's going on, which has led to this sort of a move. Don't forget, Jubilant has also come out and done a lot of investments. So they have added on to stores of Domino's. They have tried to do innovation. They have also added on to Dunkin' Donuts, which, actually did see a lot of cash expenses going up in this quarter. So all of that did have an impact on the numbers. 7.4% decline, and, with such old hands going in, probably this news will also not be taken in positively. 930, 931 at the day's low. Volumes, as we have been pointing out, just 8 minutes into the trading session right now, and volumes are almost more than 12 times what we generally tend to see. 7.5% decline. Would not be surprised if it actually slides down from further from here on.
Okay, let's get a view from Ashish on Aurobindo Pharma. Ashish, if Aurobindo Pharma opened strong, has sold off a little bit. Is that 815, 816 level difficult to cross for this counter?
I don't think so, because if you look at the way the stock has been consolidating, and now we have seen a renewed interest in the stock, clearly indicating that this stock has a potential to cross its previous all-time high, and we expect the stock to cross and test somewhere around 940, 950 odd levels in next 1 to 2 months. So I think this is a positional call, and one can initiate a long in the stock with a stop below 770 for an upside target of 920, 930 kind of levels.
So 891, I think, is the all-time high, as I can see, and then you're saying that it will cross that. The moment it has consolidated for some time, for several months, within a price range, small price range for the last, I think, a couple of months, and you're saying that now it's set for a breakout, right?
So it has consolidated for almost 6-7 months, and now we are seeing this kind of interest coming back. I think stock has a strong potential to cross its previous all-time high, and once that happens, we can see another 7-8% upside from those levels. So ideally speaking, 940, 950 can be the potential target in the stock. But I think as of now, for next 1 to 2 months, the stock looks good for another 100 rupees upside from current levels.
So you would be a buyer in Aurobindo Pharma right now? Okay, let's put that out. Buy on Aurobindo Pharma, and at least 890 levels, which is the all-time high, 891, and then another 100 rupees for short term, and then 5 to 7%. That's what Ashish is telling you. So a target price of about 940 on Aurobindo Pharma for the medium term. So that's a buy from Ashish Chaturmohan. Give me a sense about BHEL, Ashish. Do you track it? What do you think is happening to BHEL?
See, I think definitely we saw very strong, price action on 7th of September. The stock moved from almost 130 odd levels to 160 to 164. And post then, for last couple of days, it has been, seeing some sideways price correction. But still, we are not seeing any significant volume on this downtick, clearly indicating that the stock may find a strong support around this 145 to 148 zone. And once that happens and the stock crosses 153.54, then I think a next round of rally rally can begin in the stock, and which can take it towards 170 odd levels. So I think overall, if you are a trader, wait for a breakout above 154. If that happens, then I think it's a clear buy for an upside target of 168, 170 kind of levels. But till it doesn't breaks 145, I think this stock is overall in a positive territory.
Okay, Sameet, NIIT, is it something that you track? And if you do, if you could give us a view on NIIT, that counter, while Sameet looks up, let's just show you the NIIT stock, because that's up today about 6%, and it's hit its 3-month high today. It's trading at about 105 rupees. And if I tell you what the returns are in the last 3 months, NIIT has given about 24% return. And let me tell you that it is not a counter which did great numbers in Q1. So it's again one of those companies which has been affected by IT slowdown. NIIT, of course, is not a pure IT player in that sense, but however, it had been affected as well. But despite that, NIIT has given a return of about 24%. What do you think about it, Sameet?
See, to be honest, we don't track this counter closely, but if I look at the overall chart structure in last couple of months, volumes have picked up substantially in this upward leg of the rally. That clearly indicates that there's a strong amount of participation happening in this counter, and is now trading around its all-time high. I mean, it is poised to break its all-time high. So this stock is likely to outperform, and we see this counter moving beyond 118, 120 in probably next 3 to 4 weeks time. This stock is likely to continue its outperformance, and any dip probably towards 100 rupees, 98 rupees, just considering the risk to reward ratio, would be a very good buying opportunity. Now we are seeing a base shifting higher from 75 to 90, 92 now.
All right, Castrol, let's pull that one up for you. It's right now up about 30 rupees, and it's increased its movement up. If I look at the intraday chart itself, it opened approximately around that 435 odd level, and that itself was 10 rupees higher, and today it's up 30 rupees. It closed at 422. Pankaj, just explain to me, if the block deal is going to go through at a discount, right? It's they're trying to get it between the price ranges between 408, I think, to 422, which is a 3.5. Lower end is 3.5% discount. Why is the stock price rising so much?
So firstly, on it went in at a decent price. We look at the day's low, it's 420.05. So I think that's where the block deal has happened, because the deal was for 408 to 422. So that's the price range that they had given. So it went towards the higher end. So there was a lot of demand. Secondly, as you pointed out, that why this is going up. So if I just look at the last couple of days, or in the last 3 or 4 days, yesterday the stock was down 4%. On 14th September, that's about 3 trading days before, it was down about 4 odd percent. 15th September, it was down about 1%. So it's lost quite a bit from the highs. So there was a sense in the market that, BP is looking to sell. Remember, BP's numbers were not that great. They made a huge loss, and that's why, they needed to fund that loss. And that came in from Castrol. Now, this is the second offering that has come in 2016. In May, they sold about 11% stake. That time, the appetite was not very high, and there was an indication that, they may come to the markets again. And that's precisely what has happened. But doesn't really change anything whether they hold 59 or they hold 51% stake into Castrol. It doesn't change the operations of the business, and that's why you're seeing this sort of relief rally. It was already expected that this deal would happen. There was a lot of short build up, and now once the deal has happened, probably the demand is also higher, and on the other hand, we are seeing that there is some bit of short covering on the F&O side in Castrol.
Because let's just look at the volumes again. It's obviously includes that block deal. That is why the volumes would be a little confusing there. But 3.9 million shares and 130,000 shares are usually traded till in the first 15 minutes or so. So 3.9 million shares, out of that 8.5% chunk is the crucial thing to look at, because the volumes therefore are showing very high. But with these kind of normal trades, is this something that traders look at all, this particular counter? Because if one looks at the price chart itself over a period of 3 months, Castrol, Ashish, it's very difficult to actually find a trend.
Yeah, you're right. Definitely, it's very tricky to take a call in these kind of stocks, because if you would have asked a technical analyst a day before, and he would have said that it's a breakdown below 440, and now we are seeing a clear a strong up move in the stock. So clearly, this kind of stocks where this kind of news flow is flows are there, we generally avoid taking a long or short in this kind of ideas.
Okay, there's some, as we mentioned, that there is a bit of a news in ICICI Bank, and the stock is down marginally. It's down about 0.5% or 1/3% at the moment. Okay, 1/4% has made a bit of a comeback from the low of 268. ICICI Bank has actually increased bulk deposit rates. Now, one wonders why it's doing that, considering across the board there's an expectation that interest rates will go down. Is this because it expects it is a little short of funds and therefore is going to look at more funds? But let's get a technical view on ICICI Bank. Sameet, ICICI Bank, what would you do with it right now?
See, as I said, we have been a bit cautious on the benchmark index since last couple of weeks. This is a stock which we have been tracking quite closely since last 2 weeks. We see this stock struggling around 275, 276, and if you look at the broader view, this stock has been oscillating within the boundaries of rising wedge pattern. So that higher end is somewhere around 280, 282. So that acts as a very strong resistance. With a near-term view, 275, 276 would be a major hurdle to watch out for. We are a bit cautious on this stock. We expect minor profit booking in the stock, probably towards 260, 258, which is the lower end.
All right. Okay. Thank you, gentlemen. Let me take your disclosures. Sameet, let me start with you. Sameet, let me start with you. Just want to take your disclosures.
Yeah, I don't hold any positions in the discussed stocks, but our clients might be having position in all of them.
And Ashish, you?
We have recommended the stocks to a few stocks to our clients. I don't have any personal holding in any of them.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us and giving us your calls. For our viewers, you can see them on the left-hand side of your screen. The Sensex and Nifty have actually slid. So the Nifty opened about 8820 levels, and since then has dropped to our first support of the day, which is closer to 87,780. In fact, it's gone below that.